Welcome back to Words of Wokism number 26. Today, resilience, or you might see it or hear it as resiliency. As usual, this is a word that does not mean what you think it means. If you think it has something to do with your individual ability to triumph over adversity and bounce back like a rubber band from tragedy or trauma or some other kind of turmoil or challenge, yeah, that's not what it means at all. In fact, it has nothing to do with individuals and everything to do with the largest possible group of people the federal government can control at one time. But they'll be content to start at the town, city, neighborhood level, that sort of level. Think about where you send the payment for your water bill, as an example, or your trash pickup, or where you shop for the food you eat, things like that. Because what resilience actually means is it means dependency. It means lack of autonomy, lack of agency. So if the opposite of agency is dependence, then that is what resilience means. The argument of the federal government and other local governments that are signing on to this, state governments, is that we need to be more resilient to handle the next pandemic or the next big problem that's going to come our way. Apparently, we didn't do a good enough job bouncing back from this last one, and they want to make sure we're better prepared, we're more resilient. But their solution, oddly enough, is not to let the market function like the market's supposed to function, let people, organize organically and solve their problems organically using all kinds of free market choices. No, no. This, dear ones, is about top down control freak level of management. Think China. Think about every aspect of your life being monitored, controlled, evaluated, and defined for you by your government. So this will be how much water you use, how much trash you produce, what kind of trash you produce, how much you eat, how much you waste. How big is your house? What are you spending to heat it and cool it and so on? And they'll decide if that's too much or not enough. And how they'll decide that is based, of course, on your social credit. And those people who have the right identities, of course, are going to start off at the top with the most social credit. They need the most resilience, otherwise known as dependency. So, if you are Black, if you are Hispanic, if you are gay or trans, if you are a woman, especially if you are a Black, Hispanic, trans woman, you're going to start off having more of this social credit. You're going to start off entitled to more of the things that you might need for your survival. Now you might think, ah, bummer, that's not fair. I want to get that stuff too. But understand that all that stuff can be taken away from you. Your resilience, your ability to withstand any kind of privation will be determined by the government, who will define what enough is of all these things, what too much is of all these things. And if you don't believe me, I would encourage you to take a look at Lisa Logan's latest video, in which she explains how the federal plan for equitable long-term recovery and resilience works. I would also encourage you to do a search, Google search on the word resilience and your state. See what pops up. Then take a look at the programs and see if they actually have anything to do with improving your ability to order your own life, make your own choices, compete in the marketplace, um, buy things at competitive prices, or whether it looks a whole lot like they're going to start getting into every aspect of your life and deciding all those things. because they need to make sure that you have what you need, according to them. And only then will you be resilient by their definition. And of course, we have to go all the way back to them defining what, you know, overcoming or getting through the next problem would look like, because it will be up to them. So, if the government decides that surviving COVID simply means continuing to breathe, the next COVID, then guess what? Yay, you're resilient. You're still here. Yeah, we let you live. If they decide it's that you're allowed to survive and actually keep your own single family dwelling of some sort, then terrific. Guess what? You are resilient by their definition. But if your definition of resilient is I managed to keep my house despite the next pandemic, natural disaster, war, economic downturn, fire, earthquake, flood, or just, civil unrest. Yeah, no, no, that's not what resilience going to mean. It's not going to mean that you get to keep your house and somehow muddle through. It's going to be that the government allows you to have what the government decides you should have based on all of this social credit that you either will or won't have according to the government. Again, you don't have to believe me. You just need to take a look for yourself. So here, James Lindsay shows us if the word resilience hasn't been on your radar for woke disaster words, I encourage you to add it. It's one of the worst. It is. It is how the social credit system a la China is going to be implemented in the United States. It already pretty much has through the federal plan, which Lisa outlines in her video, which I will link below. It will cover education, housing, employment, transportation, food and water, the environment. Providing the conditions from resilience requires radical policy changes in all of these areas. Those are their words, not Lisa's. And I'm just going to scroll through my bookmarks to show you just what I find when I look up the word resilience or federal plan for that matter. Let's just take a quick scroll. A lot of them are Elisa bringing it to you because she wants to make sure that you see here it is, the federal plan up in Richmond. Here is another example of the federal. This one here is growing resilient communities, embraces a new year, welcome CRC fellows, grow Google partnership, blah, blah, blah. Because you see, there has to be a lot of data mining to keep track of and evaluate how resilient you actually are. Are they dependent enough yet? Do we have enough data points to be able to give and take away at will so we can completely control the population? That's how they're going to do it, gathering mountains of data. The technological and data infrastructure needed to create this monitoring system in every city will require mass amounts of funding. Money from COVID recovery bills that cities accept from Economic Development Administration force help them to implement the federal plan recommendations. So you see, you don't need to vote on this. All you had to do was be supportive of those Congress critters who did vote for endless amounts of money for COVID recovery, right? Anything with recovery after it, anything with resilience after it, anything with rebuild after it, build back better. Sound familiar? Well, that goes hand in hand with it. 2023, creating resilient communities. Did you know it's about creating a resilient community? So it's no longer about you. It's about your whole city and your whole town. Again, stratified according to the social credit system. Don't be too independent because you'll wind up at the bottom of that hierarchy. Let's see. What else have we got? This just goes on and on and on. To ensure equitable outcomes in the federal plan, a new framework created by well-being in the nation. Well-being is another one of those terms, but that'll be a whole separate video because that gets into mental health, and I don't want to muddy the waters of resilience. Here we go. Wind theory of change. Do you ever feel like maybe the government thinks that you are a chess piece that they get to move around on an invisible game board and you no longer have free will? Yeah, you probably should feel like that because according to people at the WEF, the era of free will is over. That's a direct quote. So, yeah, and there is the ELTRR. They have lovely acronyms. There is her video. You really should watch it, but I'm still going. I'm still going. Goes all the way, all the federal plan. And that's just, maybe like a little bit. I have this one at the top. I think it's noteworthy. It says, "We are all martyrs in the making. Listen to this woman explaining Palestinian resilience." I think it's ironic because the truth of the matter is that resilience pretty much is about martyring you to the cause of social justice. You're supposed to be willing to do that. So, in that context, resilience pretty much means, thank you, sir. May I have another? Whip me some more into the proper shape so that I cannot be upset by the fact that you have taken all of my agency from me and you determine what I can eat and where I can live, how much water I may have, whether I may bathe every day or not, how much trash I can produce or not, how many children I can have or not, and so on. Because, of course, you have decided exactly what we all need to be able to weather the storm that is life. Hope that clears it up for you.